could steal my glory! We done all the hard work for him! Stick to the plan, and we'll crush him! These skulls are mine! With each kill, my power grows! Khorne shall have his tribute, but the worthy are mine to reap! We're gonna make a killing here! If you're after gold, glory, or exotic needs, I'm your man! Hey-ah!
Bro, what the hell, man? I know Alberic is still kind of generic, but did you really have to do the Bastion of Bordelot, the Trident of Manon, that dirty? Really? I think he might be the first legendary lord I've ever seen killed in a DLC trailer before. It wasn't just killed, dude was straight up murdered, decapitated by the Skulltaker himself. Pretty messed up, and it's fitting, because Omens of Destruction is the newest Warhammer 3 DLC, as armies of chaos and carnage conglomerate, and will be coming sometime in mid-December. Khorne, Ogre Kingdoms, and Greenskins, three forces of rack and ruin, duking it out in the old world and beyond. Couple really cool moments here with the Mangler Squigs line breaking through the nightly charge with whips and chains that quite excite me, and some glimpses of Khorne's greatest champions fighting alongside his herald with some fun editing to go along with it. But those few snippets notwithstanding, I honestly think this is one of the weaker, or at least one of my least favorite trailers in this trilogy. I'm not sure if it's a stylistic change with glimpses of the campaign map, the 700th time in a row we're syncing kill animations with blaring MLG air horns, seems to be a staple of every single trailer CA releases, or the general lack of narrative, rivalry, or connection between these characters. While it was certainly fun to watch, as they always are, it didn't really make me feel that much, especially compared to like the Vampire Coast and Tomb Kings reveals, or even the Champions of Chaos trailers. Not a huge deal, obviously. I don't play these games for the announcement cinematics. It's just marketing, but I'm curious how y'all felt about the trailer itself, especially in comparison to the other triple lord packs like Thrones of Decay. Didn't really do it for me this time around. Whatever. What does engorge my loins, however, is the prospects of Ogre Kingdoms overhauls, the Ogre Haul, as it were, and unit additions, and the very exciting conclusion of the Khorne Unit Roster, which after this update will have basically anything and everything you could ever ask for, from the Blood God, end times included. Greenskins have some cool stuff too. There are a lot of fun units and heroes coming in this update. We'll get into that shortly, but first let's do a quick lore recap and overview of what we know so far, for those of you who haven't been keeping up with all the news. As is the new standard, these packs will come with 3 new legendary lords, 4 new legendary heroes, 5 generic lords and heroes, 15 new units, and 9 regiments of renown. And of course, coming free as part of patch 6.0 will be the Warhammer Trilogy's 100th legendary lord, Arbaal the Undefeated, he who turns into a chaos spawn if he loses a single battle, and faction updates for all 3 main players, whether you buy the DLC or not, which means campaign overhauls for Khorne, Greenskins, and Ogre Kingdoms. Skulltaker, the Hero Slayer, is Khorne's immortal champion and herald, the greatest of all bloodletters within or without the Immaterium. He'll be doing exactly what his namesake implies, relieving famous people of their craniums the world over, and weaving them into his own bone-rattling cloak of skulls, gaining powerful new abilities and traits as he rampages all over the planet. He'll be joined by Scar Bloodwrath, our first taste of real end times content, and hopefully a harbinger of things to come. I think it pretty much is guaranteed. And Scyla Anfingrimm, the Red Rage Gorilla, as legendary heroes. The Blood Speaker will be their new generic support lord, chanting dirges from his War Shrine altar, and the Slaughter Brute, Skull Reapers, Wrathmongers, Khorne and Blood Beasts will be the rest of the unit additions for Karnath. So as expected, Scar Bloodwrath will be leading his unique end times exclusive Scaramore tribe units, the Skull Reapers and Wrathmongers, elite and extremely killy infantry meant to get stuck in the thick of it and destroy basically any other infantry they get their hands on. Skull Reapers are great sword-wielding executioners with a big charge bonus, while Wrathmongers are Dwarf Doomseeker equivalents in form and function, tiny model count, but big-time carnage with those dual chain whips. Flails, whatever you want to call them. Blood Beasts are the main element we didn't know yet for Khorne. These are demonic chaos spawns serving as monstrous infantry, but take on the characteristics of their blood god. Go figure. Could find nary a glimpse of the creatures in the trailer, but they do appear in this official screenshot alongside Bragg the Gutsman with a devilish rat ogre-like appearance. They're coming with Scyla Anfingrimm, who is himself known as the Blood Beast, so expect them to take on an angry ape-like visage alongside their master. The playstyle here is incredibly self-evident and incredibly straightforward. Get into melee, rip and tear. I really like the roster overall. Obviously, kind of one note, as is Khorne's wont, but I'd say it stacks up favorably with the units added for pretty much any single faction in any single Lord pack in the trilogy. Awesome centerpiece monster with the Slaughter Brute, some very cool infantry choices, lords, heroes, everything. Very good on the Khornate side. They're done now, honestly. I can't think of anything important they're missing. Really, the only named character I can even think of that has any import whatsoever is Kabanda, and he's really not as big an impact in Warhammer Fantasy, and he only shows up in the end times. He really doesn't offer much compared to Scarbrand. I mean, he's the same thing, basically. He can fly, but I don't think we'll ever see him. I don't think we need to see him. When it comes to the Ogre Kingdoms, Golg Maneater is like the second or third oldest named character in the entire setting, with a fierce reputation as the most successful ogre mercenary of an age. He plays every side, so he always comes out on top with mercenary contracts, helping clients the world over settle their disputes, and in turn lining his pockets with gold, his belly with might, and his gullet with Bugman's Triple X brew. Designed as an anti-infantry blender, he tears through hordes and can snipe out characters with exotic extra abilities like Deadeye, that Maneater pistol, owing to his Maneater approach to warfare, taken from many different climates, technologies, and cultures from which he has gained experience. He'll be joined by Bragg the Gutsman, the Ogre Paymaster, and Bruisers as Legendary Hero, Generic Lord, and Generic Hero respectively, and a Regiment of Renown Eshin Ninja, who will roleplay as a Paul Blart the Weeb Mall Cop kind of dude, dual-wielding katanas and stealth charging in to assassinate characters and war engine crews as a 1,000-pound behemoth. Should be hilarious. A unit that may very well steal the entire show for me this DLC, and based on a famous tabletop conversion to boot. On top of that, Golg Maneaters will have some kind of unique playstyle. Again, I'd really like to see some kind of Maneater overhaul where you can custom create your own type of Maneater and give them the culture you want, like make them Arabian Dervishes, make them Empire Gunners, make them Eshin Ninjas. I don't think this is going to be a mechanic that will be added to the game, but man, it's something that I think would have been really cool for the character. And then on top of Golg Maneaters, which have some unreleased mechanic, Noblar Pigback Riders, Blood Vultures, Yetis, and Thunder Tusks are all confirmed. Bragg the Gutsman is the Grim Reaper of Ogre kind, a solitary hooded figure who represents death itself with a scythe that's known as the Great Gut Gouger, designed to hook over the top of an enemy champion's gut plate and rip out their intestines. Particularly gruesome and fear-inspiring death that is reviled and admired in equal measure amongst the ogre tribes. He's a loner because nobody wants anything to do with him, but man, you want him on your side when the chips are down and you need to win a military campaign. His Gut Gouger Scythe makes him an armor-piercing anti-large duelist meant for taking down monsters, very welcome addition to the ogre party, and Bruisers are mini over-tyrants looking to prove their worth to the tribe and make a name for themselves as leaders and veterans, occasionally making a play for power as ruler of a tribe. And the Thunder Tusk, essentially a ranged variant of the Stonehorn, still very capable in melee, but designed to fire massive balls of ice across the battlefield. So it's a powerful line breaker and single entity artillery piece all rolled into one gigantic furry package, while Yetis continue the frozen fun as a flanker unit and debuff focused monstrous infantry, similar to Gorgers in some ways, but designed to weaken an enemy battle line's ability to resist the charge from regular Ogre Bulls. So throw them into the mix in the front ranks if you want to break down an enemy battle line, or send them around the side to hit them from the flank and rear. Probably really useful in a cav fight, definitely very useful mixed amongst Bulls in a mainline charge. And finally, we have Gorbad Ironclaw, the brutal unifier, arguably the greatest war boss in history, the Hannibal Bonaparte of the Galactic Empire equivalent for orcs. An incredibly rare mix of brains and brawn, displaying a level of strategic and tactical genius uncommon, even amongst the great generals of the Empire or Azur, and quite literally one of the most successful generals for any faction in the history of Warhammer Fantasy. He was like an end times level threat, essentially, for the Empire about 800 years ago. He almost completely crushed them before his invasion finally fizzled out, and dude was presumed dead after that long, brutal campaign. Again, this was 800 years ago. He's a real old guy. His main campaign features called The Plan, where unique battle lines can be constructed for exotic bonuses, encouraging you to experiment with wildly different unit compositions. More than any other Greenskins lord, you'll want to dive into the unused portions of the roster and get a healthy mix of everything he has to offer, everything the Greenskins roster has to offer. He's a proper leader, a melee bruiser with Gnarla the Warpig and the Mangler Axe, and a cunning linguist all in one. In terms of the Greenskins unit roster here, we'll be getting an eclectic mix. Snagla Grobspit, the Spider Rider, Savage Orc Great Shaman, Night Goblin Big Boss, Black Orc Axe and Shield, Mangler Squigs, Colossal Squig, Arachnarok Webflinger, and Bolt Thrower. Ruglad's Armored Orc Crossbows are coming as well, but I believe they will be a regiment of renown, not a standard battle line unit. I think regular crossbows for Greenskins available in large supply would have been pretty weird. Obviously, we don't know yet all the RORs for each faction, although there are 9 in total, so 3 for each of the main factions. I will say, Gorbad does not excite me as a lord. He looks like a character that was added in the first days of Warhammer 1, honestly. It's nobody's fault. This model is what he looks like on the tabletop, in the source material, army book, what have you. But there's nothing about his appearance or playstyle that makes me feel like I need him in my life, right? Happy for you Greenskins bros, and there's plenty to be excited about here, but Gorbad himself isn't counted on that list for me, really. I think the inclusion of the Mangler Squigs is going to make a lot of people very happy. They're the unit a lot of the community assumed was probably not coming, but if the last DLC was any indication, chain tech seems to be all the rage these days. Got it with Doomseekers last time around. Now we're getting it with Wrathmongers and the absolutely wild Manglers, who are designed to break open battle lines with a flailing mass of yapping flesh, gnashing teeth, and metal links that can rip an armored knight in half as they bounce through enemy formations. On the Greenskin side, Colossal Squigs will be the main centerpiece monster, a vomiting mass more maw than muscle. They'll probably function like a squishier Kemrian War Sphinx or Mammoth with some kind of vomitous breath attack. Line up a charge down a flank and tear them apart with collision attacks as it gobbles up everything in its path. In the trailer, the cool blue raspberry bright blue spider is not a regiment of renown. That is the Webflinger Arachnarok. It's a Shanty Howdah variant with a catapult mounted atop that yeets wads of venom-drenched spider silk threaded through sharpened bone shards, which not only slam down into the midst of the foe with killing force, but also explode into an entangling cloud of sticky filament. Victims are blinded and trapped, riders are dragged from their saddles, the workings of war engines are fouled, and warriors' blades are pinned by the tacky filth, leaving them helpless against the onrushing hordes of Greenskins. So expect a slow debuff on top of more standard catapult projectile, and the bolt thrower, of course, is just what it sounds like, a ramshackle scorpion designed to pierce large targets from range, which means a lot more artillery options for the Greenskins this time around. No big stabbas, unfortunately. I think that would have been a funny inclusion, to see multiple orcs working in tandem to wield big ol' spears together, and it remains to be seen what, if anything, is done to Black Orcs with shields to make them feel a bit more worthy, but really, I'm not sure that topic was worth any drama to begin with. There are a ton of units this update, and as in the past, there will usually be a handful of weapon swaps or variants to pad things out a bit. Grudgerakers were literally this exact situation in Thrones of Decay, which was a really well-received DLC. It's a standard unit with a new weapon variant, and there was not a peep about their inclusion being a problem last time around. Black Horse's Shields add a somewhat new playstyle as a sturdy line holder, more akin to the Dwarfs, just like Grudgerakers added a somewhat new shooting playstyle of powerful gunpowder blasts at a closer range than your typical Thunderer did last time. Now, yes, I would love to see the Arm to the Teeth special rule enabled. It'd be nice to be able to switch on the fly from great weapons to axe and shield, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, I don't really have an issue with Black Orcs having a variant here. They're frankly my favorite part of the entire Greenskins roster. If nothing else, it is interesting to see how social media can drive discussion and certain talking points about a topic like this one. I think their roster looks pretty decent. Now, I'm not exactly blown away by the Greenskins reveals thus far, but then again, I wasn't really expecting to be. It feels like they were added as the third faction in this update because they'd be a little bit easier and a little bit less work than the others, which is fine. I would have absolutely preferred another race here that needed more work, like Norska or Vampire Counts or something, but those would have eaten up a bigger piece of the pie and made it harder for the Ogres or Khorne to get fully brought up to speed. So while I really had no expectation that Greenskins would ever get another DLC again, considering what was left for them, which was not a whole lot of importance in their army book in my opinion, I think what we have here is decent. Greenskins really just did have a bunch of variants left. That was most of their army book that was remaining. Weapon variants and unit variants, but not a whole lot of completely new overhauling type of units. But again, this is just the roster and surface level campaign mechanics we're talking about right now. We still don't really know anything about exactly how the Greenskins campaign side will look after this update, and that's just as, if not more important than anything else. So jury's still out on that front. Looking at this whole package in totality, the DLC looks pretty good. There are a lot of super cool units, needed units really, some very flavorful and fun additions, and a metric crap ton of iconic characters. When you take Arbaal into the equation on top of everything, it's one of the better lineups we've seen for Lords and Heroes in a single update, even if I do think the DLC is lacking that interesting narrative and rivalry between characters that we've seen in the past. So yeah, as long as there's good work done on the campaign side, which there's no reason to assume otherwise, Omens of Destruction is shaping up very nicely, and I think there's a lot to look forward to. I believe all the other bells and whistles in terms of pre-order, blog reveals, and early access will be the same as Thrones of Decay, which is to say, you won't be able to pre-order this DLC at all, but once it drops in a few weeks' time, sometime in mid-December, you'll be able to buy the whole thing or individual factions if you only care about, say, Khorne or the Ogre Kingdoms or the Greenskins. You can buy those separate. I'll be getting lots more detail in the coming days, which of course I will be around to cover as we get back into gear for Total War content. As always, provided that the reveals still look good as we move closer to launch, I will have an affiliate link if you'd like to go through my store, but that won't be available until release day in mid-December, which is true no matter where you're purchasing from. If you're going through Steam, that still won't be able to be pre-ordered until December 12th, 14th, 16th, whatever the hell. Launch day, as it were. So join me as we continue to ramp up and cover Omens of Destruction over the next several weeks. Hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about the reveal in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next video. Any Pride, signing out for now. Have a good one, guys.